Hello there and welcome back to Yodo. This is the series on Alzheimer's dementia, the second of this installment. There are several other videos on this topic. If this one doesn't cover what you're looking for and it's not in the other videos, please let me know in one of the comments below what you do need more information on. You can turn on the closed captions by clicking the CC button below. In the last video, we discussed prevalence, how important history is to obtaining the diagnosis, how mental illness complicates determining the diagnosis, that depression and other mental illnesses can masquerade as dementia, as well as the patients with nearly any form of mental illness are at an increased risk for developing dementing illnesses. We also reviewed some of the cognitive tests that are used by clinicians and the lab tests that may be ordered. So review that information for some more details. Today we're going to go over some of the stages of Alzheimer's dementia. The stages and time frames for Alzheimer's dementia are preclinical or mild cognitive impairment, and this typically is 3 to 7 years. Mild or early stage of Alzheimer's dementia may last 3 to 6 years, and the typical duration for middle or moderate stage is 3 to 5 years, and the severe or late stage may last another 2 to 4 years. Terminal Alzheimer's dementia could last up to 4 years. Thus, the time a patient may have Alzheimer's dementia could be 20 plus years. Prior to 2020, the time from the diagnosis being made to the point in the disease that a patient requires a different living environment was about 40 months, just over 4 years. Some patients may need assisted living environment. Others might require custodial care environment, while a few would require nursing home care. This is a very individual need and often depends on the other health issues that a patient has, as well as the age and the ability of those that the patient lives with to provide the care that that patient needs. There can be considerable variability in presentation and progression as well, and this depends on many factors. Much of the progression is based on things that are out of the control of the patient, their families, and sometimes even the medical providers can't control these things. Each stage becomes more burdensome for the patient and their loved ones. It presents some unique and challenging symptoms to be managed by the medical staff and results in some behaviors that can sometimes place the patient at risk. So let's talk about some of these details of these Alzheimer's stages. Preclinical or mild cognitive impairment. This is notable for very mild brain changes. The first begin in the middle temporal lobe in the hippocampus, near the temples and in the ears. In this stage, memory change symptoms are quite subtle. There is intermittent increasing forgetfulness, but often these symptoms go largely unnoticed. The patient might have sleep disturbances, and some patients will have mood changes that are occurring. A busy person is forgiven memory lapses. A person that has trouble with retaining new information might be overlooked, as anyone can misplace an item, struggle to find a word, have a moment of poor judgment, or find a complex task difficult to complete accurately. But when all of these subtleties occur together or repeatedly, they should not be ignored. Noticing these short-term memory changes is also difficult because they can be easily hidden, especially during casual contact. In this stage, the patient continues to have the ability to perform high complex cognitive function tasks. These people can perform their job, they can care for themselves, their home, their pet, manage their finances, and drive a car. Many patients, though, will sense that they're not able to function at their highest level of thinking. For many, this perception is often discounted by those that are around them with comments of reassurance. Some have awareness that they are not thinking as quickly or as sharply as they believe that they have in the past. It can be frustrating and even scary for patients to have these progressive, subtle changes that they believe are happening and over time increasing, while those around them insist that there's not a change and their memory and function are normal. Patients and families have been known to resist the diagnoses. There can be a denial in the symptoms. Many people will report that this is out of fear of the disease. This causes a delay in the diagnosis. Thus, the delay in the interventions that would be beneficial to have started early. This lack of early treatment factors into the progression. Early identification is extremely important, particularly now that there are new medications that are being brought to market. These newer medications being developed show promise. We still do not have a cure available at the time of this video being taped, but these new medications do provide some relief from some of the progression of these symptoms, but it's not an avenue to cure. The earlier the diagnosis is made does allow for these medications to be used earlier and will slow that disease process. Accurate and early diagnosis is required before starting these medications. These new medications will not work if they're not being used for the correct subtype of Alzheimer's dementia. Also, these medications are not without risks. The medications are also very expensive at this point in time. And another large hurdle in use of these new medications is they're not administered at home. They're not in pill form. There's another video on this channel regarding one of these new medications. The treatment with lecanemab must be initiated early to prevent the slow onset of the disease process occurring more rapidly. The newer cousin to that, donanemab, which is brought to market in summer of 2024, works similarly and has some of the same advantages of the first, but does not have some of the same disadvantages, so it is a step up. Both of these are monoclonal antibody medications that target the amyloid formation that's beginning in the brain in the mild cognitive impairment stage of the disease. Another new medication that's being studied is, I'm really struggling to say this because I'm not real sure how to pronounce that. It's remternetug. And this is the newest in this class of medication. It's a second generation immunotherapy medication that targets amyloid. This medication would be in phase 3 trials during 2025. For each of these medications, studies indicate that they have to be initiated very early in the mild cognitive impairment stage of the disease before significant damage has occurred and before there is significant cellular death from those amyloid deposits. Each of these medications is specific to treat that particular subset of Alzheimer's dementia. As we learn more about the pathology that is occurring in this disease, there is further development in the specific treatment to address these pathological changes that are occurring in the brain. The subsets of Alzheimer's dementia are very different abnormalities from the other process of dementing illnesses. The brain inflammation, brain cell death, and atrophy that are occurring in Alzheimer's dementia is unique. This is why the correct medication must be selected and we have to intervene early because disease is being caused by these deposits and the death of the brain cell must be prevented. Early identification and treatment is a must. When the brain cells die, the information that was contained within them is also gone. Now I'm going to go over mild or early stage of Alzheimer's dementia. The slow but progressive damage to the brain cells that results in further disease changes. There's also an accumulation of more amyloid plaque and the development of neurofibrillary tangle changes between these neurons. There's a resulting cellular death of the brain tissue. This first is occurring in the hippocampal area and also entorhinal cortex. Over time, this advances to the lateral temporal and parietal brain areas. Patients begin to need help with managing some of their complex tasks. As they never had trouble with performing these in the past, this is a new change. These changes and this impairment becomes more obvious over time. They will have trouble forming thoughts, issues with the planning of routine complex tasks such as shopping, maintaining a schedule, and tasks that have multiple steps in them, such as cleaning a kitchen or bathroom, tending to the upkeep needs of a car. Patients will have unique needs developing based on the damage that's occurring in their brain. Early signs of having trouble taking care of the daily activities will become noticeable, and they will begin to repeat questions at this stage. Question repeating is very common and can be nerve-wracking for their caregivers and loved ones. There can be changes in their ability to read, recognize, name, and possibly use some of the common objects that they usually are able to do without difficulty. Also common here is increasing difficulty with the sense of direction. Language skill issues will be emerging at this stage. Patients will have trouble with word finding or following conversations. Because of the awareness of these problems, there's early evidence of social retreat, and that occurs as many patients don't want to be embarrassed by these increasing issues. They're not wanting to draw attention to themselves and the growing memory problems that they are having, so patients will often self-isolate. This is an important part of the patient's decline. As they socially withdraw, stop going to clubs, stop playing cards, stop communicating with friends, it can result in an increased acceleration of their deteriorating cognitive function because they're not using their brain in the same ways they have in the past. They're not getting that stimulus. Financial concerns will emerge. They may be having issues with consistent and regular bill paying. Balancing a checkbook, making good choices with the use of their money are not uncommon. Many of these patients may otherwise be healthy and appear completely like their old selves to family and friends. Beginnings of frustration and mood changes may be seen by some family members because the patient may be developing issues when they're questioned about some of the choices that they have made. They might become defensive or sometimes secretive or occasionally suspicious. Often the patient may realize that something is changing and they don't have control over that, and that can lead to a variety of emotions, from anger or fear, and certainly depression can occur. This is the time to learn a diagnosis because there is so much time to begin future planning. It is very helpful to be gathering information regarding where and how to get help as the disease advances, as well as ensuring safety measures are in place for medication administration, correct follow-up with physicians, medication use, nutrition, and finances. If any help is needed at this point in the disease process, that help does not generally need to have specific training. Elderly patients at this point of Alzheimer's dementia may not have significant impairment. Their memory function, they'll still have good cognitive skills, and they're going to retain it for a longer period of time. They're going to have a higher level of function when they interact with others, particularly if that's done on a regular basis. There is significant benefit to having a companion to spend time with and check on the patient frequently. Thinking games can pass time, but more importantly, they're also going to help slow that patient's cognitive decline. And this is going to result in retention of their current skill levels. Caution needs to be used, though, to ensure that the companion is not a person that would take advantage of or coerce that patient. Patients in this stage likely need some assistance with their instrumental activities of daily living. Most will have increasing issues with spatial orientation and may even get lost going to frequent locations. Going to a familiar spot that they've been to many times in the past may present an intermittent and unpredictable challenge. For some patients, mood issues are also going to be emerging at this point. Sadness or anger are not uncommon. Suspicion may begin to emerge in some patients. And again, they should be checked on often, as they're going to have intermittent times when they might be unsafe or make an unwise decision. Some are no longer safe to stay by themselves by the end of this early stage. The protection of finances must be put into place at this stage because of the common occurrence of unwise decisions regarding their money or assets can occur. Some are quite susceptible to influence of commercial or cold calls. They may believe in stories or sales pitches that in ordinary circumstances they would not believe. They might agree to things that they would have never done in the past. Financial exploitation is devastating and all too common. As a sidebar, the threat to this vulnerable population for elder abuse is real. And as the disease progresses, the risks to this patient population increases significantly. Elder abuse may be in any one of many forms: neglect, financial exploitation, emotional, physical, psychological, or sexual abuse. Abuse can occur to an elder person, but patients with cognitive impairment are unable to protect themselves. Their actions and behaviors might actually increase their risks. Healthcare staff, law enforcement, social workers, emergency medical technicians, staff of nursing facilities, assisted living facilities, and employees of adult daycare are all required to report. You might be surprised but relieved to learn that staff of financial institutions are educated, and they're also on that list of obligated reporters. People that work in financial institutions such as banks, savings and loan companies, as well as credit unions are on the lookout, and they're required by law to report suspected abuse. There is so much information that I'm breaking for today. This has been a lot. and there's more to come. I certainly need a break, and likely you do too. So let's go get a cookie and join back up for the next section. Today we discussed mild cognitive impairments and findings in the early stage of Alzheimer's dementia. The next video will cover information from moderate and late stage disease, and I'll see you back in that one. Thank you for watching, for the positive comments, and for giving me a thumbs up. You guys are such a boost for me. Bye now.